Blackson in the hizzle. Oh, all for shizzle dizzle. We got an excellent show here today. Today's kind of like an interview thesis for Nature Moms. God, this camera is getting on my nerves, man. Damn. You got to turn the light on, man. Look at this, man. Look at this. Stay still, camera. Damn, I hate this autofocus, man. Look at that. I hate that shit. Okay, y'all, I'm sorry. Damn, camera's wigging out on me. I'm having an episode. A little bit of lighting, yeah. Yeah, see, yeah. Okay, y'all. Nature Mom won't be here until 11, so we're a little early. So I wanted to just kind of get a mic check. So let me see. Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yep, we're good, we're good. Okay, so yeah. Um, Wanted to come on a little early, man. Y'all check out that movie, Fast X, man. It's probably the best. Damn, this camera. I'm sorry, yo. This camera's tripping. Okay, yeah. Check out Fast X, man. It's a very good movie. Yeah, this camera right here is going back in the bedroom because this is just too much pulsating. I don't like that. But yeah, gonna do a little interview, um, little thesis that she's doing on her paper. So we're going to man, she looks bright. I'm sorry, y'all. Damn, let me adjust this off. Yeah, yeah. I went from having not enough light to too much light. Yeah, look at that. Ugh. Oh, I don't like that at all. Okay, y'all. Man, okay. Yeah, it just looks really bright. Light bright. Damn near white. Let's see who we got in the thing. Audio bad. Gotcha. Ugh. Sorry about that. Is it low or is just bad, right? Okay, gotcha. How's that? How's that? Okay, so that's another mic that I'm gonna have to work on. How's that? How's that, twin? How's that? Hope it's still not bad. Yeah. Two good mics, two bad mics. Okay. I hope that's better. When you say bad, is it too low? Is it fuzzy? Is it distorted? I need more description. I need more of a description. Yeah, I think that damn. Oh gosh. Hold on. Okay, let's see. All right, testing, testing. Stop cam. Testing, testing, testing. I think that's better. I think that's better. Twin, let me know if that's better. Oh gosh. I don't know how when you say bad, I don't know if it was distorted, if it was too low, if it was doing all kind of weird shit. And my camera's doing weird shit right now. I might have to switch out my camera because I don't. Even though it's a wider, but this autofocus is killing me, man. Man, it's killing me. Okay, so yeah, I don't like this autofocus at all. Don't like this autofocus at all. And yeah, it's too bright. Damn. Okay, I'm gonna get into a twin. Respond. Do it. How's it now? I think I'm getting the delay. Man, this is awful. Look at this, man. You know what? Fuck this. Fuck this, man. I'm not. I can't hook this up because it'll mess up the whole show. All right, yeah. Let me know if the audio is good, twin. Let me know if the audio is good. Damn it, brightness is too bright. Yeah, see, that's normal. That's usually the normal setting right there that I do. Oh gosh, that's horrible. Just tap the light. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. Tell you what, y'all. Hold on, hold on. Ah, I gotta get rid of that. Yeah. So I got two bad mics. Two bad mics, man. Two bad mics. Let's see. Yeah, I gotta get rid of some of that glare. Damn, the white. Gotta get rid of some of that glare, y'all. Ah, get rid of some of that glare. All right, some of that white glare. Damn, is this one right here? Yeah, I'm gonna have to take that. Oh gosh, horrible. All right, y'all. So yeah, we're waiting on Nature Mom. She'll be here shortly. I hope my audio's good now. Um, damn, lighting is weird. Okay, it's like everything is. Ching. So yeah, man. I hope my audio's good, twin. I know you're at work, so I know you can't really do the sound man thing for me right now, but I hope it's good. Um, best thing I can do is just use the phone. Hold on. I know what to use. Ah, when all else fails, since I can't get a respond from Twin, let me see if my mic is good. Audio, right, right. Is it good now? Hold on. Is it good now? All right, hold on. Yeah, I hear it. I hear it. Reverb. That's called reverb, y'all.
It's interesting.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. Nope. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. No. Okay, so now I can hear me. Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. No. Okay, I had some bad reverb earlier. Okay, so now we're just waiting on Nature Mom to get her thing together. Okay, I had some bad reverb earlier. Okay, so now we're just waiting on Nature Mom. Okay, yeah, y'all. Man, my mics are, I don't know what's going on with my mics, and my camera's just doing the most. You know what? Fuck this camera. Fuck this goddamn camera, bro. I'm done with this damn camera. Oh, I'm done with it, dude. It's just driving me fucking nuts. Oh, gosh. Okay. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Why are we doing this, camera? Okay. Now, let's see. Let's do the settings. Okay, let's take, come on. Cut on. Let me go out. Okay, y'all, I'm back. Yeah, that camera was driving me freaking crazy. I had to switch back to the old school. This is the one that was driving me crazy, y'all. See, now it's more soft. Yeah, I'm gonna just keep the 1080 soft P. Even though it has no light, it's darker, but it's more clear and it doesn't do all that autofocus nonsense. Okay, so I just have to brighten more lights. I can't hear your audio. Let's see. Yep. Okay. So she's okay, y'all. So she's setting up her audio. So yeah, man. I was talking about Fast X. Fast X was a real good movie, and I recommend y'all go see it. It's going to be a 3-part series. Good movie. Good movie. That's all I can tell y'all. It's a great, stupendous, great movie. I wonder if I can back up my mic. I can't hear your audio. Okay, so my audio is good. My camera is back to normal. We're going to send this camera back to the other room because this is not, it's good for the other room. It's not good for here, the way the room is set up. So we'll send this back. We're just waiting on Nature Mom to get an audio. But yeah, man, shout out to everybody. We are live. Let me send out a text to everyone. We are live. Create a post. We are live. Indeed. Okay, y'all, a little technical difficulties, but we have overcome it. And let's see. Send a shout out. Okay, y'all, let me get this thing while we're setting up. We're still kind of setting up. Nature Mom. Okay, y'all, let me get this thing while we're get it, Mom. See, that's why I use a phone, Nature Mom, to check your audio. I check my audio with my phone. Yeah. But her audio is a little different. Yeah, shout out to Twin, shout out to eBizzle for letting me know my audio was doing the feedback. I don't know why. I think it has something to do with that new camera. So I'm sending that camera back to the other room because apparently it has something that's interfering with the audio, causing the feedback. So, you know what it was? I think it was because they have their own built-in speakers, which is, you should be able to cancel that out because I have my own audio. And so, yeah, let's see. Let's go back here. I get it now. Yeah, this new camera has its own audio, so it was feedbacking from the mic back, and then yeah, we get all the audio feedback. So, but we're good now, y'all. So let me. Yeah, I gotta, because I don't know what's going on with the chat. The chat is like there's like a delayed. So we got. Wait a minute. Hold on. I know what's going on. Hold on. Hold on. I think I know what's going on with her audio. Damn. Okay, hold on. Let me make sure it's not on my end. Play. Guess can stream their own. No. Let's do guess. Okay, let's see layout. Nature Mom, can you hear me? Okay, go out and come back in. See if that helps it, because I think I messed something up on my end. I think something on my end is jacked up. I think there's something messed up on my end. Okay, let me send her another invite. Hopefully, hold on. Okay, y'all, I think, hold on, I think I might have messed up her audio settings. Yo, okay, so we got that working and
Okay.
add the screen. Okay, say something.
Can you hear me?
Yes. That was
Okay.
my end. I do apologize. That was something. Yeah, my thing was, man. So I came back in, and it fixed it. So that's why I was like,
Okay.
let me-
Maybe I can put him here so when I'm reading. Oh, okay, that's it. Okay, just drag it over. How do I drag it? Oh, oh,
okay, let
got
me
it. Oh, look that. There,
try
everything's
that.
lined up now. So you can hear
Cool,
me?
cool. Yeah.
You
That was
okay?
my end. Yeah, that was my end. I do apologize. That was my
Okay.
end
That
because when
that
I started,
happens.
yeah,
Technical.
yeah, I'm really want to drop this StreamYard and go to what's the other one? It's another streaming service because this one is just getting on my nerves now. It's
Uh,
really backing my nerves. And
you
I
know.
had a new camera, but it was giving me feedback. So damn
Ah,
technology. Yeah, so
so
yeah, this because
relationship
it kept auto
focusing.
focusing. I'm like, you know what?
Yes.
No, take it off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
but
had this issue even with the standard camera, but we were able to resolve it pretty easily.
okay,
Yeah. So, how are you today? How's everybody out there?
I'm doing good. Nature Mom.
Yeah. Sorry
Shout
for
out to
like
Twin.
my eyes today. They're very inflamed. We
Okay,
had
the sand.
another
Yeah,
one of those sandstorms. Yeah.
sandstorms.
And
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just get to me. I
Oh
just like,
man,
never had allergy issues that I know of in my
right,
life. And then I come to the Middle East with their sandstorms and just a little wind now, and my eyes are inflamed. So
right.
you just bear with me today.
Okay, no
Um,
problem, no problem.
so speaking of allergies and inflammation, our topic of today, asthma.
Yep,
So, as I called you up and or text you and asked if I could, do a case study on you and just interview you because
exactly.
you are someone who has firsthand experienced asthma. So this would
Hmm.
not be secondhand information going along with the data that I've been researching and collecting.
Right.
And you have an offspring who also has asthma. If
Three
I'm
offs.
correct, you have three
One,
offspring.
two offspring, and one has eczema.
Wow.
Which
Okay.
eczema is similar Well, not even similar. It's the same reaction, just through the skin as opposed to through the lungs. And then
Okay.
some people have asthma and eczema, but yeah, eczema is uh, also yeah. So yeah, basically yeah.
So that's very interesting that you brought that up because in one of the studies that I was researching, it did bring up a conversation about eczema,
Hmm.
and I really didn't get the correlation to you just said that, because I was
Yeah.
like, okay,
Hmm.
are we talking about autoimmunity disorders here, as a whole? But you kind of touched on something that they touched on. Okay,
Hmm.
so let me just give you guys all out there a little background. We've been talking a lot about physiology, anatomy, and nutrition lately.
Hmm.
And that is like the major focus of where my biology focus is right now. Um, and I don't think a lot of people realize, how connected these disciplines are.
Hmm.
Uh, but I wrote a discussion piece, particularly on the topic of asthma. So I'll just give you guys the background information. So sorry if I keep looking off to the side. I'm reading my own paper, and just really not reading it, but just extracting the most important
Right.
points, just to catch you all up on where I am and why um, I'm I'm targeting this particular illness. So, for those of you out there, who are not completely aware, asthma is an overactivity, hyperactivity, or an inflammation and restriction of the airways.
Hmm.
And when we talk about the pulmonary system, we're specifically speaking of your respiratory system starts at your nose. It covers your throat, your larynx, pharynx, trachea system.
Hmm.
It also covers the large and small airways that are connecting all the way into your lung. And this system transports air in and out of the body, and it works together with the circulatory vasculature to enable gas exchanges, so specifically oxygen and CO2 exchange.
That's
So
right.
that's how we actually, and plants stay alive. Well, plants do the opposite. They actually release, they synthesize CO2, and then they release oxygen, and we do just the opposite. We synthesize oxygen and we release CO2. So um so what's very interesting about this disorder, as I've been digging deep into it, is really looking at firsthand a lot of the misnomers. So, we've been talking about nutrition a lot, and misnomers are really important in understanding, pathology deeper, understanding triggers deeper. And there's just so much misinformation out there. So, I thought that we could dig into it a little bit deeper as a experience, someone who not only experienced it yourself your whole life,
Hmm.
but also having children who've experienced it,
Hmm.
or who are experiencing it.
And also the
Uh,
remedies.
so the first thing I want to go into are some of the triggers. So the triggers that I have documented, and you can add to this, is I have the environmental factors such as dust,
Hmm.
pollen, pet hairs, weather
Hmm.
changes, mold, tobacco
Hmm.
smoke,
Oh,
physical
absolutely.
exertion, stress, and respiratory infections. Would you
Hmm.
add anything to that list?
Food. Food is a
Okay.
big factor. Yeah, foods with
Okay.
a lot of fats. A lot of grease. Like I want to say your French fries, your fried chicken,
So
your
fried foods
beefs.
is a big
Yeah. Um,
culprit.
yeah. Not only fried foods, but foods with a lot of high fats, like your meats, your dairy, and your eggs. Yeah, definitely play a
Okay.
very big part. Yeah, and also your processed food, but yeah, definitely me. One of the reasons why I had to go vegan is because a lot of things were triggering my asthma. I
Okay.
mean, all those things that you mentioned triggered the asthma. Stayed away from those things, but was still getting asthma. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I had to take a log of what I was consuming,
Okay.
and also lack of water. Also,
Mm.
not drinking water plays a major part. A
So
major
dehydration.
part. Yeah, dehydration. Yes, because your organs tend to, especially your lungs, it's almost like having a car. You know, you putting oil and lubricating your mechanical parts. Well, water lubricates our organs, and if they're not lubricated, then they begin to act funny. That's the
Right.
best thing I can say.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
and
can
inflame.
give you some background information because when we're talking about like water osmosis, we
Hmm.
are taking when we're taking water into our bodies, our cells and the
Hmm.
transport of blood. Blood is like what 70%,
Water.
85%
Yeah.
water,
Hmm.
and we're talking about the ability of these organs and these systems to move, to transport, to expand, to contract. So
Right.
yes, water does play a very important role. And when we're talking about water osmosis, when we are dehydrated, our let's say for example, our respiratory system will take water from our skin or other parts of our
Ha.
tissue in order to try to
Ha.
lubricate itself. So yeah, that's really interesting that you brought that up.
Yep. Yep.
um so touching on this topic, since you dove right into the food,
Of
I
course.
did come up with some studies, and I really wanted to understand the role of nutrition in asthma. And it was a very big component of it. Now, like most things, there's a lot of conflicting information,
Hmm.
but depending on of course who's funding, who's hey twin. Oh, I love it. I can finally see all Bizzles out there. So whatever you're doing today, oh, it's working.
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
MD out there.
Yeah.
I don't usually get to see you guys so
Yeah. You know
readily,
what? I
so
guess any technical, just come back and come back in. That just, yeah, that's all
it
right
kind of
there.
resets the system.
Yeah. Reset
Yeah, so I
system.
get that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, man. So yeah, we'll always refer back to this show if we have technical problems. Just go back and come back in, and hopefully that'll. It worked today, so it worked for both of
Yeah,
us.
put everything back into its set point.
And that's what water does. Water resets the organs back into their proper place, being that we're mostly made of water. And
Right.
also, like I said, it took me a long time for me, Nature Mom, for me,
Mhm.
to get
Mhm.
my diet in order. Not only did I get
Okay.
my asthma under control, but I've also had more muscle gain, less what they call skinny fat,
Okay.
meaning just being totally out of shape. You got people that are skinny but they're fat. They got, it's just
Got it.
weird how to describe, right? But I've
Skinny fat.
actually, yeah,
Okay.
skinny fat, right? You know, I had like a skinny fat physique. I'm like, what the hell? I look weird. But now I got more muscle and less fat, more muscle. You
Okay.
know, yeah,
So what you're saying is basically like having more lean muscle mass has
right,
improved your asthma.
yes, yeah.
Um, so
Eating
sorry to
more
hear that.
leafy green. Yeah, eating more leafy greens, drinking more water, eating more uh, whole food plant based sources. Um, and also I forgot to mention this: going to the bathroom on a regular helps asthma too, because when you're stopped up,
Okay.
when you're congested, that causes. Don't ask me how, but it
Probably more
causes.
inflammation.
Yeah. So constipation causes a lot of inflammation in the lungs, and it will cause your breathing passages to act weird.
Okay. So that's very
So yeah,
interesting. Sorry to hear, twin. Um, I've also lost a college friend eh, from asthma as well. So,
yeah.
of course, having this disease in my family made it one of the reasons why I targeted it as one of my discussion papers, as we're covering, nutrition and physiology and anatomy, and just really trying to come to some understandings about this particular this disorder. So I think that's really interesting that you brought up the topic about avoiding like certain foods, because
Hmm.
one of the studies that I came across, I mean, it had a lot of interesting things in there. And this is actually not a study, this is an article
Okay.
by the Mayo Clinic. And, just kind of evaluating the data that they're putting out there and what, resources they're backing this information up with is something really interesting to me. So I'll just share with you a little bit of what they're saying here. Um, Now, of course, the main thing that they went after in their article was to uh, eat to maintain a healthy weight. So you just kind of
Right.
confirmed that, like a healthy weight, and not just like a healthy like size within this sliding scale that we're given, but actually having a body composition that is truly on the health side, not just on the thin side. So I think that that's
Right.
really interesting that you brought that up right away.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, let's say that we know for sure that there's a lot of data and research out there that talks about, obesity, and
Yeah.
mothers delivering babies through obesity is very connected to asthma and other uh, type 1 and 2 diabetes for the infant, type 2 diabetes for the mother, um,
Hmm.
and a whole lifelong list of health issues, from physical health to mental health, related to obesity. But one of the things that's really interesting is the way that I've learned how obesity is like creating a genetic trigger
Right.
for asthma. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this. Being a black man, African American man, whatever you guys like to call it out there these days,
Freeman.
um, yeah, free men.
Yeah.
Um, uh, there is specifically, here's some data I wanted to pull up for you. So this data, that is, the title is "The Role of Nutrition in Asthma Prevention and Treatment." This is a study review of course, asthma related to food and treatment options available. One of the things that they found, and this study was done back in November of 2020, it was published, and they found that, because there's a team of doctors who worked on it, so we'll just call them, Al Warthen et al. So et al. Being the group,
Okay.
they found a very interesting piece of information. Like, not only since the 1980s has there been this very steady high rise of asthma cases,
Absolutely.
so specifically from 6.8 million people in the 1980s to 25.7 million people diagnosed with asthma
Hmm.
in 2010,
Right.
uh, which that's a huge leap. Um,
Huge.
when we're looking at trajectory, growth trajectory, that's a really large leap from the 80s to the early part of the 2000s. Also, one of the pieces of information I thought that was very, very very important for my research was that the disease is more common in African Americans
Hmm.
at 11.9%, so nearly 12% in 2010, versus white Americans who were only at 7.8%. Um, so, any words about that?
Yeah, so African Americans are most likely to have food deserts, and so they have to get a lot of their primary nutrition from fast food, and they have less grocery stores. A lot of the produce in the grocery stores are. I mean, there's an old saying. Well, a new saying. I ain't gonna say old saying that your food is your medicine.
Mhm.
And when dealing with asthma, it's good to stay. It's very, very, very important to stay hydrated. And like I say, water is a primary source. And also, dealing with foods with high alkaline, like your watermelons, your cucumbers, your cantaloupes, those are very important also because they help keep you regular. Even though water is an essential, you still need the fibers to kind of flush your system, because again, the constipation can trigger to a lot of respiratory breathing issues. So, and then like we talked about last week, a lot of those fruits are anti-inflammatory. Your raspberries, your strawberries, your blackberries, your I want to put I do kind of want to put grapes in there. I mean, they help me, but I mean, it might be a stretch, but definitely like I said, raspberry, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries. Your tinier berries,
Mhm.
and if you can, like you said, we talked about get them in their most natural state, which I know is blueberries also, but
Mhm.
here in the U.S. we have a conflict because we have people blowing that stuff up, and so
Mm.
yeah. But it's still, again, they still have, even though they're not 100% like in the natural, because like I remember you and we joked about strawberries are supposed to be this big, not this
Yeah.
big. You know what I'm saying? And
Right. He's
so,
like,
right, right. But if you can, right, like, yeah, that's
oh
ridiculous.
gosh. It's like,
But the smaller
yeah.
the fruit, the
Yeah.
more nutrients, the more antioxidants they have to release, to break down
Mhm.
whatever's in your system. Those
Mm.
foods are just there to break down and sweep away with the fibers, sweep away, allow it to go through your digestive tract and come out of your body.
Okay.
And yeah, so there's foods designed to get other foods out of your body after it's gotten the nutrients that it needs, so it doesn't linger in there. Because, like I told you before, Nature Mom, our intestines are similar to those mammals that are herbivores. I cannot stress that enough. All
I,
herbivores have long intestines. Most carnivores have short intestines, so they eat whatever meat and they shit it right out immediately. Whereas we tend to hold on to food longer, like most herbivores sustain their food longer in their system. And that's why we have the colon cancers and the intestinal cancer, tract cancers, and all those type of cancers, because we're having the meat sit in there too long. And when it sits there in too long, the biomicrobes that's in the form, somehow they travel back up. Like I say, when you're constipated, it tends to affect because everything is linked, it'll affect your respiratory system. And now you start to have asthma.
okay.
Yeah.
So I think that you and I are going to stay forever in the debate about
There's no debate.
uh,
No, there's no.
about humans and
We
well,
have long intestines. That's not a debate.
when we say
That's a
debate,
fact.
I'm just talking about like the scientific data that actually backs that up. There's
Oh, okay.
no like scientific data that is proving, that case. When you look at us from a physiological,
My
anatomical
case
point of view,
is we have long intestines.
but we also have the appropriate enzymes to break these down. We actually have specific, if our bodies weren't adjusted to it, we wouldn't have specific enzymes that trigger when we eat meat, or proteins, specific enzymes that trigger when we eat carbohydrates, and very specific enzymes that come into. We have completely different operation system to break down fat. All three of these systems, the proteins and the carbohydrates, they break down very similarly, but fat has a completely different operation system of breaking down in our body. And I just, there's just no science that's backing up that our bodies are not built to eat meats and to eat fats and proteins, when especially our brain is 80% fat. You can't give it something else. It does eat glucose, yes, but it
So
also needs fat.
what science says that we have to eat animal fat as opposed to plant
So
fats?
I'm not saying that we have to eat. We're in a, let's
Thank
say,
you.
a
Okay, I'm
period
glad you said that.
of,
There's no
yeah,
science saying that
and
we
we've
have to
talked
eat.
about
In
this
fact,
before.
there's no
There's no
science
have
saying that
to.
we. In fact, there's no science saying that we have to eat animals. Period.
What- let's just be clear. Our
Let's be
our
clear.
eating animals
There
is a
is no
part of our.
science saying that we have to eat animals.
Okay, so I'll put it to you this way. Only our bodies are showing us that we have, unlike herbivores, we have a system that breaks down very specifically, and it is aware. So what that tells us is that no, there's no science. There's no, science saying you
Thank you.
must eat meat
Thank
or
you.
you must be vegan. There's no science that says
No, there's no
either one of
science
those
saying neither.
things,
Right, right.
right? But what our
But there is
physiology
science
is
that's saying
teaching us.
that veganism can sustain life. There is science that's saying
and
that.
and and
There's
eating animal proteins can also sustain life, which is why we have
not
adapted.
without plants though. If you eat just meat by itself, you're going to develop scurvies. You're going to develop scurvies. You're going to develop what else? Scurvies is the main one. You will
Now,
develop scurvies if you
don't
go
don't
without
forget what
any
we've
plants.
already don't forget what we've already established,
But you can
because
eat. You can sustain life without eating any meat at all.
yes, and you can
But
sustain
you
life
cannot
for a long
sustain.
time by just eating animals, which is what some of our
No.
ancestors only had access to.
You
So
will
let's be
develop
specific.
scurvies and atherosclerosis if you just eat meat by itself. You
So we're
cannot.
we're what are we saying here? We're saying is our body has
Hmm.
developed to be able to survive. And in its survival mechanism, which we still genetically are, we've
So
been
when you
passed
say
down the genetic codes
okay,
to
but
be able to survive for a
let me.
large amount of time
But
with
survival
very
doesn't necessarily.
limited. Let me finish the
Okay,
statement. With
okay.
very limited food resources. What's changed for all of us, and I think that you touched on it, is that
Hmm.
we can make a choice now. We now live in an era of plenty where we can make a choice. You can go to the grocery store and you can get whatever food selection you wanted
Right.
that wasn't so readily available historically, like it is today.
Okay.
So the difference is our body, when we talk about the science, our body has evolutionarily adapted for survival. And that's why we have these different
I
analyses
disagree
that
with that.
break down specifically. We have very specific digestive mechanisms, and they do respond to carbohydrates, to proteins, and to fats in their mechanism of digesting and absorbing those nutrients. So I understand what you're saying. Okay, our bodies are number one, which we've established before. It's number one seeking water. And
Hmm.
so it wants the water not only from water sources, which were also very scarce up until a very close period of history.
Hmm.
And that's a big reason why we have alcohol, while it's so entrenched in our historical context, because people didn't have clean drinking water,
Right.
and as we know, in some parts of Michigan they still don't. But the point being, we had to find ways of like getting some type of water into our system through the anaerobic process of making beverages, which is how we came up with our ciders, with our, alcohols. We were trying to find ways to, get around the large amount of bacteria that were wiping people out. So it's the same thing with food. There was a time where, depending on your environment where you lived, sometimes, you had your meat that fed your whole tribe, your family, for a
And
short meal,
I
but
don't
it had to
deny
last
that.
a long
Right,
period of
right.
time,
The
right?
nature, I don't deny the historical context. I do
Right.
acknowledge that. However,
So
survival does not mean healthy. Yeah, we survive, but we're surviving with cancer. We're surviving with high
so
blood pressure. We're surviving with diabetes. We're surviving with
and
hypertension. So,
and let me just
you
add
know,
something. You don't
okay.
see historically from meat eating tribes, you don't see the same amount of cancer, and
But you do
there's a
see
lot of data out there.
atherosclerosis, and you do see
Y-
atherosclerosis from the
you've
humans.
seen, so you've seen some of these
You do
conditions, like
see
you said,
scabies
when there's a
also.
lot of when you've seen a
Oh
lot of
shit.
famine. So famine is a huge issue. Even, let's say, what we're dealing with today, we're not dealing with, highly nutritious food. We're dealing with, a very high, highly processed, high sodium, high sugar,
Right.
processed food system that is creating what they're alluding to being a sense of famine. Even today we have plenty of options, but it's still internally a famine because our bodies are not nourished. So that's why you have so many issues with people who are, morbidly obese, but yet they're still diagnosing as malnutrition. They're still undernutrition, although they're obese. So what's the
But it's
issue
funny
there?
that the issue there is that, we talk about undernutrition but overweight, but then we have access to all these meats, all the meat and dairy and eggs, which we have to pump these nutrients into these animals. We have to
Mm,
pump in the B12, we have to pump in the calcium, we have to pump in the iron, we have to pump these, or not iron, but I'm sorry, iron. It has
mhm.
heme iron, which
Yeah,
is not good for us,
iron
but
is so.
but
Just
a lot of
remember,
these
most of our
nutrients
iron fortified foods are actually
fortify
grains. Yes, they're actually like,
chickens and cows, which
no,
they a lot
no.
of those.
Iron for fortified food are majoritively vegetable sources.
Let me look
So,
this up.
like
I
wheat.
disagree with that. You got to
Okay,
understand that because most
I
of the
can bring up.
animals, okay, yeah, because most of the animals are fed these grains. So
Yes,
these animals don't come
and we
with.
are the animals they are also feeding these grains. Remember.
Okay, but what I'm saying, right, right. But so we're eating it from a third source because we're eating it from the
No,
cow, the
no,
chicken, and the
just
pig.
remember, go back to the grocery store. I mean, it's
Hmm.
harder to see, in this region because they import so much food from all over the world. I've seen it more than I have in a long time. But you
Right.
don't, in certain parts of Europe, you don't see iron fortified bread, or even, iodinized salt. I haven't
So,
seen that in a
well,
long time.
I thought salts naturally. I thought they were deionized, or is that
Uh, so no, the salt is ionized because the narrative is that, without,
iodine?
iodine,
Yeah,
goiters was something that people faced a lot in the early, just after and around the war period, Second World War period in
right.
America, First World War period. But we don't really see goiters so much anymore. I mean, I think you and I, we knew someone in our childhood, a woman who had a goiter. Um, but like we don't really see goiters
Yeah, but
anymore.
isn't that from the lack of salt though? The
That's a
goiters,
lack of iodine.
iodine. Okay,
Yes.
iodine. Got you.
Yes.
Because
So
now
you
it's
tend to
hard.
have that with people who don't live near seas and oceans, and particularly who don't eat seafood or sea products, let's say like seaweed. They're not eating these green vegetables from the oceans and the
Mhm.
and the seas. that people are getting, like you said, secondhand through fish. So
Hmm.
people who live in fishing communities, they tend to not have this issue because
Well,
they're
let's talk
getting the
about.
iodine naturally through their fish and seafood sources.
Well, can we talk about the biggest issue in the United States, which is B12?
Okay, so yes, we can talk about that. So we're
Yeah,
talking
that
about
is the
like the
biggest.
folate.
The
Hmm.
biggest deficiency is not protein, is not
Folate.
calcium. The biggest deficiency is B12. That is the
Okay.
biggest deficiency. Which you know, there's been a misnomer that, vegans, they don't get enough B12, which is so funny because you know where B12 comes from, right? They just now discovered 5 plant sources from around the world that
Th- th-
supplies
There's
plenty
a
of
lot of
B12.
B12 in food. So let's say
Right, well,
if
fortified,
people
fortified in
aren't
food, fortified in food. But a lot of your fermented foods, I didn't know, except for sauerkraut, carries B12. But your
yeah.
biggest source are what they call water lentils, which are duckweed. Which guess who has the biggest source of duckweed? North America.
Hmm.
North America has the largest source of duckweed, but there's other sources of
I'm not familiar with
B12.
duckweed myself, unless there's
I
another
know, I
name
know.
that I'm not. Yeah,
They look
maybe
like
there's another name.
lentils. No, Joe, just put up duckweed. That duckweed. It just probably you're
Okay.
probably new to this because a lot of people are starting to discover, and there's actually a new plant source in Japan that has a high
Hmm.
source of B12 too. But what I'm saying is that it's funny how the science they will attack vegans first, and I'm
Okay.
just like, wait a minute, B12, B12, because when I
But
learned that B12
I would
was
have to ask, what
okay.
science is attacking vegans?
Well, it's mostly the meat industries that have these studies. Like
Ah.
they'll have an article that says, "Oh, apples, too many apples can give you cyanide," shit like
Mm.
that. And when you look at them, they're advertising some meat, dairy, and egg source. So they're always trying to
Okay.
propagandize to because here in the U.S. the meat, dairy, and egg industry has fallen. And so now they putting out this propaganda that veganism is evil. And so they got all this false propaganda saying, well, vegans, where do you get your B12? Well, that's funny
Okay.
because now we have doctors now coming out and say, oh, we're getting plenty of B12. And all
Yeah.
B12 come from plant sources.
And I'm gonna say that I really haven't. I mean, yes, there's always a possibility to have a deficiency in all of our important micro macronutrients,
Mhm.
particularly water, as you brought up. But I don't find that there's a lot of discussion about there being a lot of deficiency in B12, unless someone is, particularly like, living in a war torn country or,
Right.
unstable government, um, and or if their food sources are being compromised through industry, which I think that that's happening across the board. As I've established before, we're losing a lot of our nutrients in animal foods that are coming from huge, hyper farming. We're
Hmm.
losing it from vegetables that are coming from hyper farming because their
Hmm.
objective is not to give us the nutrients. Their objective is to get us hooked on, them being the main source of our food, and we keep, going to them for our food sources, and then getting us hooked on their pharmacologicals, because most
Hmm.
of these big companies also own huge pharma, and they're working together, you know um, because why would you grow one part of your business and not and watch the other one go under? So
Hmm.
yeah, I think that when you are looking at these sources that are not sound sources, they have their biases. Yeah,
Of course.
you're gonna have, yeah, conversations like that.
Right.
um I think that like one of the biggest issues with folate, because I'll just talk about the majority of because there's not just B12, there's other folate, micronutrients in that family that have very long technical names, but they are
Mm-hmm.
also a part of this B vitamin family.
Mm-hmm.
And what you have a lot of issues with is when you are losing a large amount of blood, and and in those cases you see more deficiency. So and of course you have people who are under undernourished. So let me be very clear about that term again. When I say undernourished, I'm not talking about your body composition, size. I'm talking about whether or not you are giving yourself a well-rounded nutritious diet that's keeping you at a homeostatic stasis so that everything is functioning properly as it should. Sorry, guys. I didn't realize the phone was on. So a lot of times you have like cultures, like I said before, with unstable government, unstable food sources, where their food sources are being destabilized, and they are already deficient in folate. And then when they become pregnant, then there's a huge issue for the mother and the baby, of like having problems with anemia. So I don't find that in rich countries like America that there's a huge issue with folate deficiency, unless, and this is where the big issue comes in, unless you are eating a highly processed, high fat, and when I'm talking about high fat, I'm talking about these saturated, you know, um, hydrogenated fats added to your diet constantly.
Mm-hmm.
If you're buying anything from an institution, anything in a package, more than likely you have these fats added to your food, and they're trying to disguise them as healthy.
Trans fats.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to not just trans fat, but the hydrogenated fats as well,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
they're passing them off as like, oh, well, it has healthy palm oil in it, it has healthy olive
Right.
oil. But what they don't tell you is the chemical hydrogenation process that makes these once good fats turn into solid. I mean, you guys remember margarine, right? It turns
Oh
these
yeah.
good oil, nut oils, and these, avocado, and these olive oils, and these other great sources of fats into these solid, compositions that are not readily passing through your vascular system, and they're
Right.
causing, congenitive heart failure, they're all types of heart disease. They're adding to the obesity crisis. And
Mm-hmm.
this is where, here we are, we're at the same bridge, where I think what we're talking about is it's really important to know where your food is coming from, and even starting to like find ways to supplement your food sources away from these huge industrial productions, because the industrial productions, they're concerned about their bottom line, not your health.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really starting to show itself in in size, in people's sizes, and people's health. So I want to go back to our main topic, which was asthma,
Mm-hmm.
because I am doing this for a research topic here.
Okay.
And right back onto what we're talking about now, like, um, just seeing that there is a huge disparity of black people in America being afflicted with this disorder, asthma
Mm-hmm.
disorder, yet we are getting our food from majoritively the same sources. Yet why is there this imbalance? So I think that's one of the things you touched on, these like food deserts. Could you like describe to us like specifically what you mean, because not everyone's from the US listening to this. What is a food desert?
Well, what I have observed, what a food desert is that people legally can get away with having your local grocery store sell you potato chips, Doritos, fried pork skins, and soda pop, meaning that, okay, well, the technical term, I mean, technically you have food, so that's how they get around it. But when I say food deserts, meaning healthy, whole foods that basically that I have used to cure myself, and I have to travel out to specific grocery stores to get fresh produce because, again, you have food deserts that will have fruits, bruised up fruits, damn near rotten fruits, damn near just, I mean, I don't know, just the quality of food is just so low. So
Yeah.
technically, you cannot legally bind them to food desert because there is food available. Now, is it healthy
Right.
food? No, it's
What
not
what
healthy food. Right.
category can we call this food?
Fast
So
food.
yeah,
Fast food.
so
Yeah.
so what you brought up for me is, should there be a legal distinction between, let's say, nutrient dense, um you know uh even because what are our departments that are approving these, what is considered
The
healthy? It's the
FDA.
EPA, the
The
FDA,
FDA.
the USDA, correct? So
USDA. Yep.
should there be a
They're in
legal,
cahoots.
like, categorization of the foods that these agencies specifically consider, foods that send you towards health on the health
Well, see,
spectrums
Nature
versus
Mom,
the ones
this
that send you against.
there lies in the problem because just how me and you are debating, there are wide spectrum of debates, not only in America but Canada, England, all over the world that they're having. Even the WHO, the World Health Organization, they're having about meats and vegetables. The World Health Organization, the World WHO, has declared if you eat meat that fire touches it, it is a type 2 carcinogen. Look on their website.
Okay.
So that means it will knock out all your meat, dairy, and egg products. So if you go into what is healthy, it knocks out all meat, dairy, and eggs based on the World Health Organization. So you can
Okay.
eat raw meat. That's why I said, are we designed? But you are going to say we are. We've adapted. So yeah, if, as long as you eat your meat raw and bloody, you
I'm
will be
just giving you the
okay.
science data,
Right.
the
And the
anatomy.
science data,
Yeah.
according to the World Health Organization, once fire touches meat, it becomes a type 2 carcinogen. Your
Okay.
your eggs, your meat, your fish,
I will
all
have to
meat
look that
becomes
up.
a type 2. Yes, look it up. WFO
I
organization.
was
Yes.
just in their website, and there
I
was
will
some
pull it up for
discussion
you.
about meat, yeah, but they
Okay.
did not
I will pull it up.
specifically, or I did not read that section where they said that it touches fire and it's a carcinogen.
Meat.
Uh, but there is a huge push uh, in some of these organizations in pushing people away from meat sources. What's
Mm-hmm.
interesting though is, it's like also a biased view because they're only giving data from the huge, farm industry and agricultural industry in the United States, and not much information about, like, a lot of um, i- older traditions of how people are still eating their foods. And therefore, I mean, can we say that that's a complete view of where we're able to get
So let's be
full?
clear. It is a view. This is, can you see the screen?
Yeah, it just came up.
Okay. So this
Yeah,
is
and I
the,
see that it says, oh wait, no, this is not who. It says
yeah.
World Animal Foundation. Okay,
Okay.
so
So let me
can
get the
you
proper
show us
one.
the actual?
Let me do that. Yeah.
Because, yeah, because unfortunately, World Animal Foundation would have a bias.
Boom. There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. The World Health Organization. I'm sorry. I
Mm-hmm.
got the proper one. Okay. So let's
So,
go cancer,
okay.
consumption red meat, and processed meat. Okay. So we do know that. So we need to go to where it says type 2 carcinogen. So, okay. So I am on their website. Let me
Mm-hmm.
type
Okay.
in meat as type
And my guess is
Scan,
since
Gen.
who is taking this, they've done a meta study on this, or what's the what's the collective data? Because we can't just take one source, right? It has to be
Well, the whole World Health Organization is a collective of doctors from around different parts of the world. So when you say WHO, World Health Organization, you're not talking about just one
so
specific
usually they're not
place.
doing the research themselves. They're collecting the data.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I'm just
Specified.
looking for,
Oh, here
yeah,
it is, right here. Here it
where
is.
these
Can you?
this data is coming from, and
Okay,
who
so let
has
me.
done the studies, and how many studies from each point of view have they done, and have they broken down in these studies exactly who their target population is.
Okay, so do you
And
see that?
I see the same thing as before.
Okay, red meat was classified as a group 2A probability carcinogenic to humans. What does this mean? In the case of red meat, the classification is based on limited evidence from epidemiological studies showing positive association between eating red meat and developing colorectal cancer, as well as strong mechanistic evidence.
Okay,
Limited
so because I
evidence
know
based
about
on.
some of these
Okay.
studies as well, and one of
Okay.
the things, that's why I'm asking you for sources, because when you dig into
It's
who are the population, you're also dealing with a lot of people in these studies.
right.
They would take, like a lot of vegetarians and vegans who, one, had a higher economic status over the other people, and usually taking meat eaters who were also smokers, and who were not living healthy lifestyles in comparison. So what they found, that there was a bias. So the question is, yeah, have they really, like, uncovered who are their actual,
And
their
let me answer
population that
let
would
me
be
answer
being
MD's
studied?
thing because MD made a question. No, MD, I agree
Uh-huh.
with
Oh, I
you. I
see. MD.
was
Okay.
Yeah, MD was saying that he
Food
totally
desert. Hmm.
disagreed with the food desert. So no, I agree because legally, now as
So
y'all know,
let's
MD's
find.
are legal. He's our legal ego. The legal term of food, meaning like, well, okay, what we were doing, MD, we were giving our opinion saying that. Well, I was giving
Okay.
my opinion saying that Doritos and sodas they should not be deemed legal food terms or healthy foods. That's all I was saying. But the definition, no, you're right.
Well,
I mean,
I
if
think that you also touched on something really important, because in my experience, I find that, for example, you go into a school, in what is considered a disadvantaged neighborhood in the United States, and they'll have vending machines all over the school campus, or their student store that's
right,
selling Coca-Cola, that's selling all of these high sugar, and processed options, and yet, what they're able to purchase, or even, some kids are getting it through the free food program, is also highly unnutritious. So I
right,
remember looking at the difference between, the burritos they used to make for us when we were kids growing up,
right. High in
versus
sodium, right,
and they weren't great then, but if you
right.
when last US school that I worked in, and I saw what they were feeding them today,
Yeah.
that should not be classified as food. And the
No, I
fact that
agree.
the federal government is giving state money, and the state is handing these contracts out, and allowing this food to be given to children, I think there should be some very clear watchdog groups, and some clear guidelines
And
of
they do
what
have
type of food.
watchdog groups, Nature Mom. But then, and this is where
Yes.
MD comes in. That's where capitalism comes into play because it's
Hmm.
easy to pay off the FDA and all these
Well,
people to
we're,
look the
we're,
other
we're
way.
aware what FDA is facing right now.
Right.
I don't know if you
Absolutely.
guys are, that they are under huge review.
I mean,
And
there's numerous books talking about the corruption. There's
yeah,
whistleblowers that have written books upon books
yeah.
on the USDA and the FDA about the
Yes.
corruption of how they're in cahoots with the junk. I was going to say junk food industry to
Yeah.
push their products into commercial kid cartoons, into the schools, and into like their little sporting things. And that's why you'll
Yes.
see
Yes.
a lot of damn Doritos and a lot of Cheetos and a lot of, like I said, like I said, pushed in your cartoons, pushed in your local schools, and pushed into your local children's sporting events. It's all there. So like I said, there's numerous books that blow the whistle on those organizations, how they turn their back. So yeah, I mean, we
Well,
can.
so that brings me back to that piece of data that I found, about like what particular demographics of citizens are being affected by this. And
Mhm.
the alarm went off when I saw, okay, so African Americans are once again disproportionately affected by this disorder. And what's driving this disorder, what's driving behind this?
Right.
I think that one of the most interesting things that came up in my research as well was when this imbalance began, and it seemed to be a very specific shift when a lot of people started to be, let's say, segregated into particular areas of living. So it made me ask the question, as you were growing up and you consider where your children are living today, do you find that there is a difference in the communities where you resided, where your children are residing, versus the white constituents that are in their age range, maybe going to school with them? Do you see them having different, air quality? Do you see them having different resources? And you touched on the food deserts being one of the, lack of resources, but do you
Well,
find other areas as well?
how does my mic sound,
Oh
HMO?
no, I just lost you. Hello? Uh-oh.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now. You just
Okay.
came back.
Yeah. What I find again, I find a difference between now they have the same fast food places. They do have the options to go to a fast food joint. However, their grocery stores are much better. If I would say in the black community, I would give your average grocery store here in Atlanta, I would grade them a 5 or 6. Whereas I on a scale of 1 through 10,
So a
10.
5 or 6, what's giving them their grading?
Well, when you go into most of these grocery stores, they smell bad. They have a real bad
Oh,
reek of old meat, of old seafood. It's real funky smelling.
okay.
Um, a lot of the foods are outdated.
Okay.
Um, there's a lot of off break. I mean, I know this is kind of being fickle, but
No,
there's a lot
and
of
you just reminded me of a case that I found, not in this research, but before, about the repackaging epidemic. So where there were certain stores that were
yeah,
caught in U.S.
yes,
Packaging old foods and reselling it with
hello,
new dates.
yes.
So wow, that's not something that I even thought about before this. Okay, so keep going.
Okay, and oh, you just said it. They repackage old foods, and a lot of the foods are older, whereas in the white neighborhoods they're more fresh. Number one,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
when I say more fresh, it seems like you get a lot of your organic stuff. I mean, it's
From the same
from the
grocery
same,
chain.
the same chain.
Interesting.
Like, let me
Mhm.
just say, one of the biggest chains here in Georgia is Kroger. Okay, Kroger,
Mhm. Which is Ralph's in California, correct?
Rouse in California, yeah. And I
Okay.
always make this joke. I'll ask, are you going to the white Kroger or are you going to the black Kroger?
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah, this is a real term that,
Mm.
well, I ain't gonna say a real
Mhm.
term, but this is a term that, okay, Black Sun is made up here in
Right.
Atlanta. Are you
Right.
going to the white Kroger or are you going to the black Kroger?
Wow.
Because you know the
Okay.
black Kroger, you're going to have issue. Don't get that from the black Kroger. Go to the white Kroger and get that. This is
Got
in
it.
my vernacular. This is in my vernacular. Make sure you get this and that, and this from the white Kroger,
Got it.
or go
Okay.
to the
So
Jewish, or either the white Kroger, or especially go to the Jewish Kroger.
got it.
Don't go to the black Kroger, or don't go to the ghetto
So
Kroger.
neighborhood definitely plays a part
It
in
does.
this health epidemic that is on the rise, according to what you're sharing with us today.
Right.
That is very interesting. So sorry, I'm not seeing. I know you guys are out there,
Now,
and you're definitely a part of this conversation. But
MD makes a very interesting point, Nature
okay,
Mom. He says it's technically not the school's responsibility to feed your children.
okay. So
That's very interesting.
what I would like to say about that is that yes, it is ultimately the parents' responsibility to feed the children, but schools and school districts particularly are taking huge federal monies and I don't know if you're just aware of this, but just last 2 weeks ago they made another vote state by state on which states were going to accept federal monies for their food programs for children in schools and which ones are not. So, therefore, if you're taking those funds, then you are liable. And of making sure that those funds are going where they're supposed to, or therefore it's considered
Uh oh.
fraud.
Uh oh.
So,
MD,
so
you got to jump on.
yeah, yeah,
You got to jump on MD.
it's fraud,
If you're not busy,
so
I know he
if
has
I
family
ever
there.
took the federal funds I was being given and I allocated those to another area, then I would be indicted for fraud. So that's a huge discussion I think that we got to add to this. If you are taking those tax paying dollars and you are not providing sound food, are you therefore liable for their health?
Okay.
And so I think that that's a very important question to bring to the table because you don't have to feed them. There was a Republican senator who said, I don't think that we should feed them. And he was turned down by the rest of his party. And I get what he's saying. If we're not going to feed them correctly, I wouldn't want to feed them either. So the question is, if you take the money, you should be making sure that because when you think about it, the food that they're getting is not really food. It's not even covering their own USDA, EPA, and different
Okay,
HSS
so
guidelines.
I already know because I know MD. He's gonna get pushback from that. I know he might be busy right now, but you're defining, and this is how we got in trouble earlier with MD. We're defining what we define as food, and I agree with you, Nature Mom.
Yes.
I don't consider all that, but legally, see, MD, if he was up here, he was going to argue the legal definition, and
Right.
legally, it's considered food.
So
But I
that's
agree
what
with you, Nature Mom.
where I'm going as well, because I think that one of the problems is when you start to not only be the agency that polices what fits within these guidelines, but you are actually clearly setting what those guidelines are, and you go to these schools and you see that that's not fitting within those guidelines. Shouldn't there be some pushback from these agencies? Shouldn't they be working together and saying, and let me just be clear, there are teachers and principals who are fighting to get that part of the budget in their own hands because they want to do like schoolyard growing programs where they're actually using that as an educational opportunity to teach their kids about agriculture, to teach them about natural science, and then to take those foods and to give it to the cooking staff of their school to actually feed the children. And some of these principals and teachers have won against their own state governments, and they've
Mm,
implemented these programs with a lot of pushback. Um,
right.
but the problem is, when they're, let's say, everything is done for that principal to be put out of the school, the next principal may or may not be carrying on that program.
Right.
And then, once again, so the question is, um, is it technically their responsibility to feed the children? Yes, if they take those funds for it,
Okay, okay.
you
So
know?
I'm a for you, Nature Mom. I'm gonna address MD. MD's listening. He knows, so I'm gonna address him on that because he's real big on like where tax dollars are going. So you actually speaking
Yes.
his language right now. So MD, if you're
Wonderful.
listening, I know he's speaking time with the family, but we're gonna talk about this.
Yes.
If you don't join us, we gonna because he knows. Yeah, that's a very
Yes.
valid point.
and
That's a very
and
valid point.
I let's say, kind of going in that direction of conversation, I'm not a big proponent of any of the food programs, particularly allocating to certain, people,
Right,
whether it's a financial demographic, disadvantage. It's like, it has to do with what clan, culture, religion, background you're from. I think that there should not be that decision
okay,
making power, because then you start to deal with, biases. You deal with, people being able to very clearly point out institutional institutionalized discrimination. And it's something that we've seen. Isn't that why the Black Panthers, got into a skirmish with
right,
the American government? They wanted to feed their own kids the food that
right.
they felt was nutritious, and
Good
not
point.
what the government wanted to push on them. and
Right,
uh, and it became an actual physical fight
right.
over what the kids were going to be fed. So I think that these are really important conversations to be had, and especially, when you are trying to stand up for your children in your community, and you're being called a local terrorist, and yet you see the types of food that they're being fed. And then we
Yeah,
have the data here that's showing there's a disproportion, a medical disproportion in this illness, targeting a certain group. So, so I think that, all of these things have to be honestly brought to the table, if we're going to resolve trying to, get to a better place with prevention and treatment.
yeah.
um, so the last part, I know we've gone over, and I'm gonna like close out my questioning here, but there's
Okay. Do
so
we need
much
a
more I
part
want to.
two? Because man,
I mean, there's so much
yeah,
I want
this
to
is
ask you, because really
right,
this has been
right,
a very in-depth study for me, and it
right,
really
right,
brings
right.
up a lot of question of other, diseases that we're facing,
Yeah,
particularly
because
obesity as
right,
well.
absolutely, absolutely.
Uh,
Yeah, we might have to do this, like you said, and then finish your questionnaire because as you can see, when you're dealing with these type of topics, it opens up the door to more topics and
so
more
I mean, this
topics
is
and more.
Pandora's
It's
box right here for
Pandora's
me.
box for real, for
Yeah,
real. And this is
yeah,
why just between me, you, and MD, even the definitions become very you
part
can
of the
be very
conversation.
not only part of the conversation. There's actually they have gotten combative about the food pyramid. Like they have really like name
Uh,
called and damn near gone to
about what?
blows. The food pyramid.
Which they've now they've disintegrated, and they have my healthy plate, or my plate, yes, is what it's called now.
Oh,
So
that's what it's
they've
called now.
they've put away the food pyramid, and now they have a plate, and it's sectioned into four non-equal parts.
Well,
And
and black people, shout out to I forgot his name, but yeah, they were a lot of black doctors came on and and not only black doctors but a lot of Indian doctors and Asians came on and said, yo, there's a lot of racial disparities because
mm,
people of color, not only African Americans, are what they call lactose intolerant,
mm.
and a lot of white people are lactose intolerant, just
This
don't
is
know it.
data that I just came across as well. There's a
That
large
plays a very big part in
Asians,
asthma. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah,
Hispanic,
Asians, Hispanics,
yeah,
and we're not
yeah,
even talking about black people, people from India. Yeah, people
having
of color,
issues with
not necessarily.
lactase.
Yes.
Yeah. So lactase is the enzyme that actually breaks down dairy products. For those of you who would like the science behind it, and yes, there's an issue with being able to synthesize this enzyme to be able to break down dairy products. And it makes me once again ask the question, why is it hitting because we know
Well, because
biologically there's no biological difference, although there might be genetic, historical factors that we have
well,
to
to
consider.
add to your argument, white people have been on the cow titty longer, so they have evolved and developed a tolerance for it. But they're still lactose. They just don't. They're not as affected as bad as we are. A lot of people of color come from places where we traditionally did not have cows, or
That's
we didn't
interesting.
suck on the cow titty or the cow udder, as some people call it. They don't call the cow titty the
And
cow udder.
yet in this region you do find a lot of people who still drink camel's milk, for example. uh, and
Right, but
they
is that a? Let me ask you a question. Is that a later occurrence? Because let
no,
me
this is
just
very historical. That there's people
see
who
now.
still
Now
only
you about to make me go biblical.
drink.
Shout out to all my Hebrew Israelites out there. See, this is why I don't even like talking about the Bible. Real quick, when were camels introduced to Egypt?
I don't have that data right
You don't
here.
have that data, right? And
No,
and
no,
and
I don't
neither
have it in
do
front of me.
none of the Bible thumpers. They don't have that data either.
Okay.
Reason I
So,
asked that, the reason I asked that is because they
okay.
said that Abraham, we gonna get biblical. Me and Nature Mom rarely get biblical,
Mm,
but we about to get biblical. So you
mhm.
are familiar with Abraham, correct?
Me, yes, I know the story of Abraham.
Okay, so Abraham was before Moses, right?
Um, yes, he
This
was.
Abraham is the top guy.
He's the one who, yeah, was number one.
Okay,
Okay.
so the Bible says that Abraham traveled into Egypt with a camel.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
So,
archaeological carbon dating says that camels were not introduced to Egypt until I want to say I think you know what, damn. I think it was 12 something after the Persian invasion.
okay, so this is AD we're talking
This
about,
is AD we're talking.
or BC.
Yes, boom, boom. Yep, yeah, right. So
During
the
Okay, so there
Persians,
we
right.
go. So
So
here
right, so
here you MD just kind of laid it out for me. I'm in
yes,
an Arab part of the world.
right.
So this is a very long lineage here
So
of
and and
camel's
and
milk
MD
and dates.
MD is a former Hebrew Israelite, by the way, too, and so
Okay.
is Ebizzle. They're both former Hebrew Israelites. Now, I've always asked this question to people. This is why I don't even like. If you can't get past this, no Bible debates. No Bible debates. You got to get past the science, the carbon dating. Camels were not introduced to
To
Egypt
Egypt. Okay.
until after AD is considered after Christ's death, right? After Jesus. Jesus died on the
Okay.
cross. AD, right? So how can
So,
so how can
uh
Abraham have a camel prior to Moses, prior to Jesus in Egypt when they were not introduced until AD?
I mean, I can't really tell you much about that, but what I can tell you is that, um,
You don't have to there, Nature Mom. These are for the
yeah,
Bible thumpers that say, "Oh
yeah.
no, the Bible teaches
I
history."
can only
Like
tell you,
really,
in
I had to
the
be like
Arab
the
culture, I know that they have they still practice a very old tradition of camel herding, sheep herding, and
right, and that's
cows are
fine.
actually new.
Right,
They,
and
one with their money, they flew
right,
over during the blockade. I think like the
right.
largest cattle shipment ever.
And that's fine. So
Yeah.
again, and this is just something I asked the Bible thumpers. How
Okay.
is it Abraham traveling into Egypt with a camel when camels were not introduced until AD to Egypt? That's it. Just the science. I mean, and the carbon dating shows that there was no camels. Camels do not predate a certain time period. They were in the Levant as well. Oh, MD, we got to talk. We got to talk. We got to talk about the carbon dating because again, I mean, we talking about Persia, but it was a certain time period. We talking about Abraham. So when they were domesticated, because you got to domesticate them and train them, and then in order to ride on, they say he ride in. So okay, and this happened before Moses. This happened before because they're talking about AD. Again, we'll talk about it, MD man. We're
Mm,
not gonna,
yeah.
Nature Mom's like,
I mean, yeah, you
yeah,
lost
you're
me with
like,
all
hey,
the religion.
right.
Yeah, no.
That's why I don't like doing religious debates because when you try to put religion with science,
Yeah. I
it
mean, I
gets
think that one of the biggest issues, especially with trying to make a religious, like, uh, topic, is
uh,
that when you talk to someone from a Christian background, an Islamic background, or a Jewish
Hebrew
background,
Israelite, yeah,
they're all arguing the same story, and then they just put in their favorite characters in the places where they want them. So I'm just like, okay, you all say you're the first. It's like talking to a German and a Frenchman. They both are going to say that their people were the first to invent everything, and all I can say is, okay, I can't argue that because I wasn't there. And when you have a lot of the data, or a lot of stories coming back from being written down by people's verbal accounts,
right,
this is a hard one for me. I know that there is here, like, when they had the book fair, was really nice to see these 1,000-year-old written books,
right,
and but you know that's a really tough one. I
yeah,
can
yeah,
only
yeah, yeah,
stick
yeah,
with the
yeah,
science here, and tell you what has been proven and peer reviewed, but you know religion is
right.
just a pointless
I know.
argument in
I try.
my
Yeah, me
it's
too.
just,
Me too. Me too. That's why I try to.
I don't have
I,
time, guys.
only time I really be doing this to troll the Bible
Yeah,
thumpers and Quran
yeah,
thumpers, but really I don't like to get into it with them because it's
it's
kind of yeah. But
irrelevant.
yeah, but shout out to MD man.
Yeah, yeah.
MD, he's bringing up some very good points and yeah,
Mm.
I I would say this to MD's argument. Yeah, all these people in the Bible were Arabs. Abraham to Jesus. Well, I don't
Yeah,
even
I
know
was
if they
gonna
were real
say, because
people,
they
but
have a
yeah,
completely different name for him. He's also
Abraham,
Abraham, but they have the Arabic way of saying
Abraham.
it.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
There's even like some variation to it as well, because you have you know you have Abraham, and then you have a name that's very close. There's a
Right.
lot of names that are very similar, but to
Mm-hmm.
them, sounds much more different.
Yeah, yeah.
And because I don't know the accent, and I'm still listening, to how they phonate and articulate. I'm really trying to pick it up, as I feel like as a singer I should do better at hearing it. But there's
Right,
these slight variations in the names and what they actually mean, and historically where that puts you. So there's, like, a lot of things I don't understand,
right.
just being in the context of the region. And
Yeah,
I'm very interested in learning.
yeah.
I just don't
Oh,
know.
real quick, Nature Mom, and I'm gonna probably send you a video. Turkey is having their elections right now, or they're having runoffs.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And
Yes.
MD gave
Yes.
me some very interesting. So there was like three people. There's Erdogan, there's the guy that's going against him, and there's a third guy who kind of they're both short, and this third guy is basically the crown maker. And so I told
Let's
MD,
just keep our fingers crossed, because Turkey was one of those places I was kind of hoping maybe I could run away to in my retirement. Now I'm like, okay, let's just sit back and see what happens first. Yeah, we'll see. I
Turkey,
mean,
Turkey,
the one good thing about Turkey is that they protect their food sources. Their people get to still eat good food over there. So when we'll see what happens. I say if that goes down, you guys, it will be one of the only few last frontiers left of real food left on the planet where you can get real seeds and that are not being
Well, that's funny because they said
modified.
Russia was the last food source. I've heard Russia was the last real food source.
No, Russia's not a place of agriculture. It's a very cold over there. It's a
Oh, okay,
very,
okay.
you
So
know,
their resource is
limited.
more oil. Their stuff is cheap oil. Okay, I get it. The cheap
I
oil.
mean,
I
like
get it.
let's say there's areas where they are doing some type of agriculture, but it's not a vast amount of agriculture. I mean, they're growing potatoes and making it into vodka, you know what I mean? So there's not a lot that
Okay, got you.
of
Okay,
yeah,
fair enough. Fair
so
enough. Fair enough. Fair enough, Nature Mom. Fair enough.
yeah.
Okay, so
So thank you
okay,
for this discussion. I really appreciate your
and we will
insight and your
continue it.
time.
We will
I
continue
would
it. Yeah.
really love this because this and a few more of my researches you guys have been a part of, and you guys really helped me learn a lot about the hair industry though and cosmetic industry as a whole, and gave me a lot of great insight and I think a wonderful thesis to write behind that. So I'm really hoping that this is going to go in the same direction.
It will. It will.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I said, I will. Yeah, definitely. We need to continue this because yeah, this is something that I live. I live,
yeah, yeah,
and because of asthma, I have to adjust around it because asthma and well, I don't have eczema, but these are very sensitive conditions. It's just like a person with
yes,
maybe lupus or something.
yes.
It really diet plays a major role, a very major role. And if you don't know, if you're not in tune to what you're eating, you could
So we
have
must
some
dig
major
into this.
problems. We
Yeah,
have
we
to, yes,
must
we
dig
have
into
to,
this part.
we have to.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
not only will it deal with issues of asthma and eczema, but I think even lupus
Okay.
and other
So basically,
conditions.
autoimmune disorders in general.
Yes, in general, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it could push even past. So even your research on asthma and eczema, it actually can push beyond that. It could be actually be a, uh, it could be a what's the word I'm looking for? A
Like a
starting a
comprehensive.
base, yeah,
Hmm.
and it actually can mushroom out to other conditions.
Hmm. So this is really interesting stuff, and like I said, of course, I already have all the data about the actual parts of the body and what
Okay,
is actually happening physiologically. But what was curious to me is the way that yeah, environment and nurturing is
right,
factoring into this, and the way that our governments are factoring into this and industry. And so I think that's a really important part that I want to dig deeply into. So if you
right,
guys are open to having this conversation, and MD, I would love to get your insights about, just what's the responsibility as far as our kids in school, because our government agencies, our schools, our states, they're making money off of every child enrolled, and I could give you the specific head count, the let's say price tag per head count when I left the US. So I can't imagine what it is now. But it
right,
was a
yeah,
lot of money per month per kid enrolled in school. And so I'm really curious to the way that this is factoring into, this health stream and the way that our industry seems to be going into one particular direction, whether and should there be a better consideration of the direction we want it to go into, as far as our health and the health of our children.
hmm,
um, so I'm very curious about this from a scientific point of view, but also from a maternal point of view as well.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Shout out to MD, shout out to E Bizzle, shout out to Twin. Man, yeah, shout out to everybody that's going to view this later. Y'all hit the like button and share. Thank you, Nature Mom. We're going to continue this because I
Yeah.
know we only scratched the surface with the questions. And like I said, but dealing with this particular topic, you do open up, it's a Pandora's box. And so not only with just us on this show, but like I said, dealing with, like I said, I guess they got rid of the food pyramid and now they got that's a whole, because, people were screaming racism, as far as
Mm,
like majority of people of color are affected by this, and so you had
interesting.
top-notch nutrition top-notch nutritional experts, people of color, of all this, not only African Americans, but you had Asians, you had people from India, people of color,
Hmm.
everybody that was non-white that was in the expert fields was like, yo,
Addressing. Okay.
yes, this is not
So I'd like to
good
hear
for
more
us
about that.
already. I'm gonna see you some clips, man, because
Okay.
Dr. Michael, no, no, not the no, the other one. It's the brother from Oakland. Oh, I forgot his name, but Michael Mills. He was the first one, and then it just like it's almost like he's like the MLK of the whole nutrition industry. It's like
Okay.
they're starting a whole like a civil rights movement within the nutritional industry. It's like, oh wow, you know what I'm saying? So I'm
I'm
gonna send you.
curious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They it's real. They were damn near, I wouldn't say going to blows, but they were really like starch, like they were like really standing their ground on that whole
Wow.
milk issue. They were like, yo, hell no, it is not good for human consumption. And you guys are racist. And I don't see a single person of color on that board. Oh, they were calling them out. And they were
Okay.
like embarrassing them. Yeah, they were like, yeah. And then once he started it, then you had other people of color, like, oh yeah, we do notice that there is nobody on there that's
Mm,
representing us. Wait a minute.
mm. That's
Oh,
interesting.
yeah, it got, yeah. So you might want to put your seatbelt on when you watch that because it
Love
got
it.
kind of, yeah, it got kind of, it went there.
Real for once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it went there.
And
Yeah,
really, you guys, I
yeah,
think that this is the direction we have to go in when we're talking about our food. There's no mistaking to me whatsoever how undereducated we are about nutrition. And as I shared last week, there are doctors who are stepping up and saying we're supposed to treat people, and we are now learning that nutrition is a huge part of that
huge.
treatment pyramid, and yet we are undereducated in that area. So yeah, I do think that this is going to be very interesting to
Right,
take this
right.
conversation forward. MD, I have to run now, but I'm really looking forward to like having this conversation with you more.
MD definitely. I don't know. Yeah, Sundays is usually his family day, but man, MD,
Uh,
you got to jump on here with Nature Bar one day, man, and y'all got to, because I'm just a messenger. I'm just a messenger. So he said, Black son, I still
Instigator.
disagree. Right. This access to healthy food is a new phenomenon. I can prove it. No, I did again, MD. I'm not disagreeing with you, MD. It is a new phenomenon. It is. And that's why I'm just gonna show the clips next time, and I'm gonna have you and MD comment on it and see what y'all think. I'll have that ready next time. Dr.
Okay,
Michael Mills, man, yeah, he went in, and I want to get your take on it. I want to get MD's take on it.
okay,
Again, I'm just a
great,
messenger. Don't shoot me.
fantastic.
Yeah, So yeah, we definitely need to continue this next week at same time.
Same time.
Okay,
Sounds good.
real quick, and I know you got to go. So you said they will show a movie in the movie theaters, and it's different from the movies when you watch it at home. I know we
No, no,
discussed
no.
that.
So there's just parts removed.
See, that's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
cool. Wow.
yeah.
So basically, Fast and Furious won't be shown in that country because it has too much
Not
violence.
if there's a lot of kissing, sex. No.
No. Actually, there's not. Wasn't a lot of.
Usually
Well,
those are the parts they censor.
oh, okay.
Hmm.
I'm all for that, man. Because I mean, I
Well,
don't want.
I mean, in my opinion, if I pay for that ticket, then you should give me what I pay for and not censor it for me. But that's why I don't patronize your institutions because
Right.
I don't need you to tell me what I can watch and what I cannot watch.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. All right, then, Mom. Well, we
Okay.
was all right. Bye, y'all. We
It's a
out,
pleasure.
y'all. Yes. Peace, 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 peace.